Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another edition of CHP Talks. We're coming to you today on Boxing Day, and I'm speaking with Anne Rush, who is an Albertan, and I'm going to give you a little introduction to her. Someone I just met yesterday at a Zoom Freedom meeting, and let's give you a little introduction to her. She is a Canadian-born Albertan, raised by Danish immigrant parents who chose Alberta, Canada as their lifelong home. She has worked hard to build a career and to raise three beautiful daughters, and now she gets to enjoy four precious grandchildren. That's what it's all about. She laid down her career and invested all she had into creating an organization called Speak Now Canada, hoping it can be a part of ending apathy and fear in Canadians. So, Anne, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much. This is such an honor. I appreciate getting to know you.
Yeah. Well, we were yesterday on a freedom call with Ted Kuntz and others across the country, freedom leaders, and it was a privilege to. I shared what's going on with the Christian Heritage Party in Hamilton, Ontario, where we're fighting a free speech case there. We're coming up against the woke establishment and trying to secure the freedom that actually God gives us, the freedom, but sometimes people have the idea that governments give rights, but governments don't. Governments can either violate or protect the rights that God has given to us, the rights and freedoms. So in Canada, we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but it's no guarantee that we will receive justice in our system, because the people in charge of the system do not always even follow the Charter, let alone the God-given morality that we all share. See, I froze up for a second there. I'm not sure why. Anyway, Anne, what led you to start Speak Now Canada? Can you take us through the thought processes that led to the forming of this? And it's a website, and you offer various services to people, trying to motivate and activate Christians. So, how did Speak Now Canada come to be?
Yeah, well, of course, the whole pandemic was such a journey for everybody. And in the beginning of the pandemic, normally I'm not one to become scared or become uh, not think for myself, but the way the whole thing progressed, I did pick up on all of it and began listening to all of the rhetoric and all of what was being fed. And then when the shots came out, I got the first two shots. And then a few months later, or when the Freedom Convoy began, is when I had my wake up call in regards to how many people had not chosen and what the results of those choices had led to people. And I was absolutely dumbfounded and shocked. And it was being fed through a hose of information that all of a sudden was coming at me, and I became very entranced in the whole thing. And of course, loved for the first time in a long time, feeling proud of my country and feeling a camaraderie with my fellow citizens, and just feeling this pride in being a Canadian, and thinking that that was going to lead to a good end, and that we were going to be proud and move on and get back to some common sense and some good thoughts. And then the Emergency Act was called, and I was devastated, and it hit me severely. And I just was so shocked to hear the leaders of our country call names and degrade Canadians just because they didn't agree with them, and because all these Canadians that were hurting and looking for the leadership to do something on their behalf. So there, from that, it led me to wanting to do something. I didn't go to Ottawa. I wasn't super involved. I was more one of the people following and cheering from back home. And so the day that they decided to finally debate the Emergency Act in the House of Commons, I watched and thought, I have to do something. So I made a choice to write to all of the members of parliament. And I wanted to write to them all. I drafted a letter stating my feelings and thoughts and what I wanted to see happen. And went at that time, all there was to be able to write to the government one at a time. So I was on their site, cutting and pasting their email addresses and my letters and this whole thing, and send while question period was going on. And after about 2 or 3 hours, Justin Trudeau called off the Emergency Act. And that was that. And I looked and saw I'd only sent about 250 of the emails out and felt kind of defeated and frustrated and that I could have done more. And so over the next few months, I had that kind of sitting with me and it was bothering me. And I thought maybe Canadians would get more involved if they felt their voices mattered more, if they felt that they had more volume or direction. So my dream became to be able to write to the parties as a party. Now we know that our parties vote together. You know, it's as much they speak of their constituents, and I'm so grateful I have an amazing MP here in St. Albert where I live. But that doesn't mean that I would be speaking to the choir just writing to him, because he does support me. And I know for others that don't have that, they have other parties that they would be ignored likely. So my hope was to be able to speak to them as a party because they vote as a party. So I began a journey of finding web people and learning about websites. My background is accounting and finance and nonprofit. That's been my whole career. So web development, web building, marketing, all of these things completely out of my comfort zone, but it just became such a passion. So through the journey, I did find some people that were able to help build the buttons to be able to email to the parties, to the committees, to the senators. There's one button for all 10, or actually 13 of the premiers, to email them all at once as opposed to individually. And so that I got built and worked on site, and I did lots of upgrades and lots of different things to learn that whole process. And then really began to, of course, need to market this. And so I began to make relationships with lots of people that are incredible freedom fighters in Canada. And I mean, to say freedom fighter maybe sounds even derogatory or negative, but it's people that have a topic they're passionate about in regards to what has been taken or what is not being healthfully dealt with right now. From the health and you know, I didn't realize there's still thousands of doctors that have lost their license and are fighting in courts. And I don't think most Canadians know that. There's thousands of police officers and army, all of the armed forces, where they've either lost their positions, they quit, or many that are still thankfully staying in the battle but are being mistreated, bullied, abused. I've known nurses that are being abused if they get found out that they don't share the general health care. And so through the last couple of years of talking to these thousands of people and hearing these thousands of people, I'm even more passionate that every Canadian can do one thing. And one thing could be a letter, an email, a minute a day, a minute a week, 5 minutes a week. You can accomplish something that supports these people, supports that you share their feelings. It could be a prayer. It could be encouragement. I am so opposed to it being using anarchy or negative or anger or those as motivational tools. I think that the people that are elected deserve respect and kindness, just because we're respectful and kindful people in Canada. Whether they deserve it or not doesn't take away from who we are. So I built all of this. My hope is, because I have talked to many MPs and MLAs over the past couple of years, they are more likely to read unique letters. Now, on my site, I have drafted letters that people can copy and paste to make it quick on some of the most concerning topics. but I also hope that people would add their own personal story or their personal feelings or a new subject line. And those more likely will get read. And I have heard that from many of them. And I do know that we don't hear often. I send lots of emails, but I want to break off the fear and get people to have their voice back again. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
One of my recollections as a young fella, grade 6, grade 7, was my dad, Walter Taylor, sitting at his desk in the early hours in his bathrobe, typing on his old Olympia typewriter, letters to presidents, and we were in the States at that time, presidents and senators and so on. And then after came to Canada, he carried on writing to MPs and prime ministers and senators, the things that concerned him, and that is our opportunity as citizens of a free country. We hope we still live in a free country, but that we have the opportunity to communicate. Of course, the world of communication has changed dramatically since the old Olympia typewriter days and sending everything by snail mail. In a way, that's good because it gives us the opportunity, like you say, with a click of the button, you can reach a lot of desks of senators and MPs. But on the other hand, because it is so easy, there are so many more people doing it and so many different voices, not all of them voices we agree with, that I think, unfortunately, it has lost some of its power, I suppose. They always say that a handwritten letter is, they value it or they weigh it in the balance, higher than an email. A phone call is higher than a letter. Personal visit, is higher than that. But we all do what we can do, and I certainly support the concept, and I've done a lot of it myself, petitions and emails to senators. You never know. We also hope that they don't get filtered out by, sure, every senator, every MP doesn't read every email that comes in. They have filters, usually people, I suppose. It could be AI filters even, that sort out for them the things they want to read and the things they don't want to read. And unfortunately, when sometimes politicians, it seems like if they don't agree with you, they don't want to hear your voice, even if they nod their head and say, yeah, thank you for writing, it doesn't always penetrate to the heart. But we have to keep doing it anyway, because that's our responsibility as Canadians, is to speak up, show up, speak up, stand up, and be a witness. At least they know if they make a bad decision or continue down a bad path. When they continued with the Emergencies Act, my MP was signed on to the Emergencies Act, right? You try to approach them on important topics, life and death matters, the MAID legislation, other things like that. And if they don't care about the issue, like I say, sometimes they just nod their head and thank you for speaking up about that, and they go ahead and do their own thing. But at least because they have heard our voice, they are more responsible before God than they would be if we said nothing. Because if we say nothing, they can say, oh, the people of Canada don't care about this issue. But if we speak up, whether it's on pro-life or on gender confusion or on the Emergencies Act, mandatory vaccinations, all these things, if we speak up and they go ahead and do the wrong thing, they are under the judgment of God for ignoring their constituents and ignoring, God's word in many cases, which has some very clear prescriptions for what's right and what's wrong. So anyway, I want to, just say thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking that effort. And it sounds like you went down a path I know some years ago, before I was in the position I'm in now. I did start a website and did, some active blogs and things like that. And it is a learning curve. I don't think I ever got really good at it, but now I rely on other people who are good at it to do the work because I just don't have the time. So, but I know what you've gone through as far as learning. How do you do the research? We're going to get to a list of items that you have on your website, but how do you do the research to find out? Like you have a number of items that MPs have spent so much money on a certain project or whatever. Where do you get that information?
Yeah, that I guess is part of the whole thing that I'm passionate about. I've always been somewhat of a researcher, but I also know that sometimes they've picked up on things that aren't just because it's been posted 100 times on X doesn't make it true. So, in regard to what the things that I've taken up in the sense of, wow, this is concerning to me, I start with hearing about it, of course, through incredible people that are brave and post. Then I research the government's websites to see their opinions on things and what they're doing, what they're saying about it. Look for the criticism from the different authorities and associations and people that are specifically working, if it's a tax issue, if it's like the spending's out of control or other things, and try and make sure that I come up with the best possible opinion for myself on an issue. And again, in everything within my site, it is my viewpoint after doing what research that I believe. But from there, the whole goal is that everybody that has the knowledge and what their thoughts are be free to express them and make sure that it's clear in what they want to say.
I'm going to share screen here for a minute. I'm going to bring up your home page, if it cooperates with me, and see how this works. It might be for people viewing the screen, it might be a little bit small print. Let's see if I can expand it a little bit. Here is a list of some of the things that you have. I think you have 99 items of concern. These aren't your only concerns, but a lot of these involve money. The first one is $3.5 billion in CEBA business loans that went to ineligible recipients, which the Auditor General pointed out in December of 2024. Then you got the second item, $59.5 million estimated costs for the ArriveCan app that may be more due to financial record keeping, also from the Auditor General. $390 million granted to unqualified companies through the STDC with 186 conflicts of interest found. Again, the Auditor General. So just these are just a few items. You've got 99 of them there. And are they in an order of priority, or are they just listed randomly there?
They are random. I was thinking about putting the years and stuff there. For the most part, it's a lot of the items are within the last 4 years. Some, as far as the SNC Lavalin situation, is also in there. That was I can't remember, 6 years ago or something now. So primarily, it is to show that just a snapshot of 99 items in which this particular government has shown that they are not fully managing our funds correctly, managing their thoughts, their process, their direction. And I wanted this letter as much at the time that I was pulling this together was the NDP party, of course, keeps suggesting that they oppose the Liberal Party, but yet keeps supporting them. And so my intention with this is to remind them what they're supporting, that by supporting, they're also complicit. And that's strong words, but that's how I view it. And I think most Canadians view it.
Well, we are in a debt crisis in Canada. Federally, I live in the left wing, the left coast of British Columbia, I guess. And we're running deficits here all the time. And just for clarity, anyone, I think most people understand this, but a deficit, an annual deficit, is just how much you use your credit card that year that you don't pay back. So our federal government and BC, the provincial government, keeps using that credit card, never paying it back, and the next year they rack up more, so that Justin Trudeau and his cabinet and his government have doubled the national debt. We're now, I'm not sure the exact figure, but it's at least 1.2 trillion. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. A million is 1,000,000, and we're in the red ink. And people, I don't know how people can tolerate that. Politicians like Justin Trudeau use money that they don't have, basically our children and grandchildren's money, to buy votes. They promise people things that they think that they want or need, and then I don't know which is worse, when they don't keep their promises or when they keep their promises and spend money they don't have. Both are bad, especially when they spend them on useless things, and on even Chrystia Freeland, who's been, as much a culprit, I think, as Justin Trudeau in the last number of years, uh, with her little smirk when they seized the truckers' bank accounts and so on. Even she now says these are political gimmicks. This trying to send $250 checks to Canadians, like that was such a bad idea. I can't believe. Yeah, of course, everyone, we can all use another $250, but when it's coming out of our other pocket, and we're going to pay interest on it. We're paying right now about $125 million in interest every day in Canada. And it's completely unacceptable. It cannot continue. And Jagmeet Singh, for all his posturing now, is just as much at fault as Justin Trudeau in these things. So I think money, we certainly rely here at the CHP, we rely on Canadian Taxpayers Federation for a lot of information on fiscal mismanagement. They do a great job, and we appreciate what they do. This is another source. I've got to take time and go over your list in detail. I just glanced at it, really. It only takes a glance to shock a person out of their socks. So I will be doing that. So there's a source of information for our viewers and listeners. If you go to speaknowcanada.ca, the front page, you will see this list, and read it over piece by piece. It tells a tale of why we're in the trouble we're in. And when Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh try to blame grocery store managers for the inflation we have, like it's not only absurd, it is so insulting to the intelligence of Canadians when they tack on this carbon tax on everything, and then they tax the tax on top of that, and spend money we don't have and throw away $125 million a day on interest, and then they have the gall to blame the grocery store people. Anyway, what else do you want to say about Speak Now Canada and what you hope to accomplish? I know you have a membership. There's a possibility people visit your site, they can take out a membership. And can you tell us a little bit about a membership and what that involves, and what is your hope and dream for the work that you're doing through Speak Now Canada?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so it is a membership platform primarily to begin with to help me grow it. So at the moment is just containing Canadian federal party members as well as Alberta. My intention is to increase it to have all of the province across Canada. I want to make it as easy as possible the second you hear something in the news or something that's come up, that you call them out on it, that you express that you see it. Again, part of this whole thing that led me to create this is that my voice matters. And sometimes in my life, I haven't felt that my voice was heard or important. So regardless if they respond or see it, to me, this has been healing, that I can express my opinion. This is the truth to me. And when there's gaslighting and all this manipulation that goes on with the news and with what's being presented, to me speaking the truth is helping me to break through that fog and weirdness that comes from all of the deceit and gets me confused or whatever. So the hope would be that would be what Canadians could discover through Speak Now Canada. Express it, write it, regardless if you get a response, say it. And then there does become a confidence. There does become relationships that can be developed. Yes, I agree that we should all be part of our municipal, our school board, our local, any relationships that we can build as far as showing up at our MP's Christmas parties or anything like that. But getting over the fear that we're put under. Just enough people were criminally charged or fined or humiliated to cause a lot of fear. So if any Canadians that are beginning to get over their fear start doing something, that helps other Canadians start doing something. And regardless if it's going to be our Conservative government, which it looks like it is, and I guess that's the best we can hope for, all 99 things on that list are what they are going to come in to bear. They're going to need encouragement, but they're also going to need to, we need to be sure they're not going to continue it on, that they're not of the same mindset, that whoever or however that the relationships or the whatever that made this whole mess happen has to be broken. And that's not going to be easy for any government that comes in. Canadians can't rest over the next 8 to 10 years. I don't, of course, want anybody to rise up and do something crazy that leads to anything ridiculous. So this is one thing that we have an opportunity to do. We can use our voices. We still legitimately have that right. And that right, we have to hold on to and do the best we can with it and use it often, because there's a lot in the world that wants to take that right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Show up, stand up, and speak up. And, freedom of speech, our platform is life, family, and freedom. We say human life is the first, the basic right. Without life, we have nothing, right? But freedom of speech, if we don't have the freedom to protect human life or to protect our other rights, then we will lose all our rights. So it's this voice that we have, as we may sometimes feel like we're small or insignificant, but it's the voice that God's given you to use, and we appreciate that you're doing that yourself and that you're giving an opportunity for others and motivating, activating, and empowering others to use their voice to speak to the halls of power, I guess, to MPs, to the Prime Minister, to senators, and to the collective parliament. They need to hear from us. If they don't hear from us, they can assume that we're happy what they're doing. We're not happy. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And we are in a kind of a state of mourning, but we can't stay down in the dumps. We have to rise up jubilant and excited to bring good news to politicians who need to hear from us. So,
amen. Yes.
And
So
thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your work. Thank you for pressing through and learning how to do this website and all the research you've been doing. We wish you all the best, first of all, for this Christmas and New Year. We wish that 2025 will be a year of victory and rejoicing for you, that you will see men and women rising up and taking their places and speaking up and using your platform. And we invite our viewers and listeners to visit your website, speaknowcanada.ca, and avail yourself of the opportunities that Anne has provided there. So thank you, Anne, very much. God bless you, and all the best in 2025.
Oh, thank you so much. And God bless. And yes, all the best to you. I just appreciate your organization and your work so much.
Thank you so much. And we'll come back next week with another edition of CHP Talks.